If I have it in my family, does it mean that we're gonna get it? Like, is there a genes? So genes increases your risk, but it's not your destiny. So one way to put it, that genes load the gun, lifestyle pulls the trigger, right? Eat your food like medicine. Eat your food like medicine, or you will be eating medicine like food, right? I know a lot of people that they eat healthy, they exercise, and they still have terrible health because they are stressed to death all the time. They not only stress about themselves, they stress about other people, they stress about the things that don't matter, and they know that, and they still stress about it. How are you people? Good. So last night I was bragging to my wife that a lot of people have signed up, like 58 people have signed up. And she looked at me and she said, "Is there food?" I had no answer. So we also have YouTube Live going. I know a lot of people in the room. My wife usually gives me an instruction that don't let people fall asleep. But Carla has a better idea. She told you guys, right? Like, if you fall asleep, if I catch you, you'll have to pay her $5. I hope she told you that, right? Oh, damn. So I'm going to talk about this Alzheimer's prevention. There are a lot of smart people in the room, so I have to make sure that I don't make anything up. But Dr. Krishnan actually knows a lot of stuff. He has seen thousands of patients with Alzheimer's disease, so I'll try to be honest. I do have some conflict of interest. I get paid by Duke a lot of money to see patients and do what I do, but I don't get paid anything to do this. I do this because I love to do it. I actually cut down my schedule. Instead of 5 days a week, now I work 4 days a week, because my goal is to not you have to come and see me, right? My goal is to avoid you from falling ill, so I don't write you a pill, and most importantly, don't give you a big bill, right? Our system is an illness care system. It's not a health system. It's an ill system, right? We wait till people get sick and then try to do something about it. My goal is to teach people the principles of lifestyle medicine so we don't fall sick. And many things that I talk about for Alzheimer's prevention actually applies to many other diseases as well. This is more for young people in the background. You have to prove this thing wrong. Like, our current hypothesis is, why does Alzheimer's happen? So we think that there is an accumulation of beta amyloid protein. This beta amyloid protein prevents brain cells from talking to each other, breaks the synapses. As you know, synapses are the connections between neurons. And when the neurons die, they release this protein called tau protein, and then gets accumulated, and person develops symptoms. Now, this is our current understanding, and that's why our medicines don't work. Because with this understanding, even when we remove amyloid, people don't get better. I have seen tons of people who have a severe dementia, but don't have amyloid, and in the other way around, people with tons of amyloid don't have dementia. So this hypothesis is good start, but it's not the end. And I really want these future generations to prove me wrong that, oh, this was such a terrible slide. But that's what we have right now. And I promise you, it won't be this boring the whole time. It won't be too technical, but I do want to give some basic neuroscience overview of why things happen. Then it makes sense that what we can do to actually prevent it. So by the time I see patients, they are already in this stage, which is a mild cognitive impairment or dementia. The third group of people I see, they already had a significant moderate to advanced dementia, but now they are having psychological symptoms like behavioral symptoms of the dementia, and then I end up seeing them. But the horse is out of the barn, right? You can't fix it at that time. You have to start it much earlier. So as you can see, this is a time scale. Alzheimer's disease pathology in your brain starts 20 to 25 years before you start having any memory symptoms. So by the time you start having memory symptoms, it means all your cognitive reserve has ran out, that it cannot compensate for the damage that has accumulated. So it needs to start really early, but the same token, it's never too late. Like even if you have a good amount of accumulation of pathology, even in our patients with moderate to advanced dementia, we have seen when they implement lifestyle interventions, they can either slow down or in very rare cases even reverse the progression in some patients. It gets really confusing, the word dementia and the Alzheimer's disease. Most people think that Alzheimer's disease is an advanced stage of dementia, but which is not true. Alzheimer's is a pathology or the cause of dementia, and dementia is a clinical syndrome where a person is not able to do things that they were able to do very easily before. And there are multiple different kinds and stuff like that. And my problem is with the definition, because currently we are defining dementia as once already persons start having symptoms. As I said earlier, it's been already too late by the time you start having symptoms. So it's like defining that somebody has a breast cancer when they are stage 3 or stage 4 breast cancer. Can you imagine doing that? That not even calling something a breast cancer till it has spread all over the body and you're about to die? No, we won't do that. Uh, Look at the survival rate. If you're stage 4 brain cancer, your survival rate is 16%. If you're stage 3 brain cancer, breast cancer, your survival rate is 52%. And that's why our dementia survival rate sucks, because this is how we define. Imagine if we define dementia when already a person has a significant pathology, obviously they are not going to do well. That's why we have to start much earlier. So what I envision, like what should happen in next 10, 15, 20 years? In next 10, 15, 20 years, if you are 75 years old, and you know that that's the age you're going to develop dementia, because that was the average age your parents developed dementia. That's statistically, that has turned out to be true. Like if you want to predict what, if you did everything exactly what your parents did, on average, people develop dementia around the same age that average age of their parents develop. Now, it's not always true, because people don't live exactly same lives as their parents did, right? Some people's parents smoked and they did not, and so many variables. But on average, what we will do in future is 25 years before your expected date of onset of dementia, we screen you. We do this genetic test, we do the screening test, and then say, based on your current history and biomarkers, you are going to develop the disease in next 15 years. But if you do this XYZ things, you will develop disease in 30 years. So that's what I want to get to, that point where I can do the testing and can tell you what you can do in your particular situation to delay the onset of dementia. Are we there yet?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we are not quite there yet, but we know what this XYZ is. So we know the interventions, we just don't know how impactful particular intervention is in your situation. But we know 90% of interventions we already know. But the science is very tricky, right? Scientists will say, this may be possible. Like if you're an influencer, you say things with certainty. So the less knowledge you have, more certainty you have. And the more knowledgeable you are most likely humble and say, it's possible and most likely. That's why research articles don't come out and say 100%, versus influencer says, take this prevention and your dementia is going to be cured, right? Why do I have a picture of Angelina Jolie? So if you have a stage 3 or 4 breast cancer, or you're just worried about it, you can go ahead and get a mastectomy done. I'm not sure we're going to sign up to get our brain taken out, but as you may know, 2 out of 3 patients with Alzheimer's disease are women, and 2 out of 3 caregivers or more are women. So in the past, we used to just blame it to that, oh, women live longer, and that's why they have more Alzheimer's disease. That is not true, because women does not live that much longer to have that high of an impact. And I have almost 30-minute video on this on YouTube, so you can check it out. Now we are able to do the test for it. So we have biomarker tests that we can do, that I've been doing it for almost 2 years or longer, and you can test your blood to see if you have Alzheimer's protein in your brain or not. It's not a 100% test, and it only tests for a small portion of the problem. It doesn't look at your cognitive reserve aspect. Essentially, how much knowledge we have. So we have this journal of prevention of Alzheimer's disease. And this is not a new thing. It's been around for, some slides are not showing up. That's fantastic. And it's been around for 11 years. So the first journal publication happened 11 years ago. So imagine for how many years we have been publishing articles that Alzheimer's disease is preventable. And for general population, or even some doctors, they don't even put those 2 words together. Like if you tell somebody that Alzheimer's is preventable, they will look at you funny. Like, what's wrong with you, right? Like, we have never heard of it. Fortunately, nowadays in many news media, you read 1 or 2 articles about it, that, oh, you do this, and it can reduce the risk. But I think it should be even louder. There is a recent study, a US pointer trial. So if you have not looked it up, that's something to look up. US pointer trial that has shown that in general population, you can reduce the risk of dementia. And that was the largest trial done in US so far in Alzheimer's prevention. So I will talk about a lot of action items, right? But I've been telling my patients to exercise and eat healthy and do this and do that. 6 months later, they come to see me, and I ask them, what did you change? They smile, and they ask me, Doc, can you raise the dose of Aricept? Or can you give me 1 more pill? Because the people don't change their behavior, and it is not their fault. Just listening to an encouraging lecture in 1 hour, if it changed people's behavior, nobody should have high blood pressure or diabetes, right? But it doesn't happen. So last couple of years, I tried to learn the science of implementation. So like, how do you go from knowledge to action? And that's what I try to do implementing. So I'll talk about first risk factors, like what increases your risk of having dementia or Alzheimer's disease. I'm interchangeably using the word dementia and Alzheimer's, and that's intentional. And then I'll talk about 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine. Now, these are all the things that I can think of that increases your risk of having dementia. So fixing one thing is not going to solve the problem, right? Like, imagine if you have 35 different holes in your roof, and if you plug one hole, will it prevent the rainwater coming into the house? Obviously not. That's why if somebody comes and says that take this one pill or do this one intervention and you will not have dementia, that's not practically possible, right? It has to be multi-pronged approach, and it has to be multiple things for a long period of time, right? A tree doesn't grow in 1 day, no matter how hard you try, right? Sometimes it just has to take its time. So it takes persistence, and I think the longevity of intervention is more important sometimes than quality of intervention or amount of adherence. Like, people can do great things for 1 month, but are we going to be able to sustain those lifestyle interventions for a long period of time? So whatever you can do for a long period of time has a bigger value than what you can do for 1 month or so. So some of the risk factors that I'm going to point out, one is high blood pressure. So if you have high blood pressure in your middle-aged years, it's very important to control it. Or diabetes. Obviously, nobody smokes. I hope you're not smoking or not allowing secondhand smoke. Why would you fry your lungs and brain, right? Doesn't make any sense. But you may not realize that you are choking off your lungs from oxygen at nighttime if you have sleep apnea, right? So if you have not been evaluated for sleep apnea, I would think about it if you're snoring significantly. For this audience, I do want to point out hearing impairment. If you have hearing impairment, please get evaluated and get a hearing aid. I know hearing aids suck, right? They are not good. We need to do better. But it may not be just a hearing aid, it may be your brain as well. Because a sound falling in your ear is only one part of the equation. You have to have the second part of the equation where your brain has to make sense out of it. So if you put a hearing aid on and if you can't hear really well, stick with it because your brain is learning to understand what this new sound is coming in. I have a 1 to 2 hour class on every single slide, so I will have to just move on. Nancy knows this. I can talk forever, so I wanted to talk about nutrition. So what kind of food we can eat that can reduce our risk of development of dementia? So most of the time, whenever the food thing comes out, people focus on what you are eating, right? Like, is the blueberries good for me or flax seeds are good for me? But I don't think it's the one item. I think it's the whole food pattern that we eat has a much bigger impact rather than one or two things. Like somebody can be eating nuts every day, but then at the same time they eat the pizza for the rest of their hunger. So is it good? Not enough. So when I eat, I usually go through this list. Is this food that I'm eating is made out of love or made out of profit? It sounds so simple, right? But if you look at all ultra processed food, even with the fancy advertising and fancy marketing, it's made in a way that they have to have lowest quality ingredient that you eat the most, and that's how they make money, right? All these food companies, like why as a whole country we are getting bigger and bigger, right? Because we are all eating more and more and more than we used to. Like why is that? Is it like self-control issue? It can be, because why would our self-control change in just last 200 years, right? Like humans are the same for millennia. It's not our self-control problem is the food that we are eating, it's devoid of fiber, right? If you're a company that wants you to eat more, they take the fiber out of it and they take the water out of it. So what happens? You chew less. You have seen this new food when you put it in your mouth and it dissolves. There is a reason why it dissolves. Because you don't have to chew it. The less you chew it, the less your brain recognizes that you are eating. So you end up eating more. So there are lots of other ways ultra-processed food is bad for you, but I'll stop at that point. So try avoiding eating ultra-processed food, even though it may have fancy marketing, right? It may say it's high protein or low calorie or low fat. If it's ultra-processed, try avoiding it. Then why we are eating, right? We should be eating for nourishment, not because I'm feeling sad or I'm bored. You can be eating the most nutritious food, but if you are eating because you are bored, that may not be the right way to eat it. Like when to eat. I think this is so important. People forget it. The same food that you eat at 12 o'clock compared to 9 o'clock. So like 12 o'clock afternoon food versus 9 o'clock, 9 p.m. food, same number of calories, has completely different effect on your body. So ideally, person should eat at the same time every day. I personally do intermittent fasting. I'm not asking any one of you to do it, except you talk to your doctor, right? Make sure if your diabetes and all of the things, if you have thought through it really well, intermittent fasting is good. Fasting in general is good, right? Like as humans, we are eating way more calories than we used to eat. We just have access to abundance of food that is very unnatural from a species evolution perspective. It's also about how we eat, right? Like most of you, including myself, we eat as fast as we can so we can move on to the next thing that we're doing. The problem with that our system is not ready to absorb what we are eating, right? So it's not about, we become what we eat, right? Like most of people have heard that. But I believe we become what we absorb. So if your gut is not ready to absorb the food that you are eating, it cannot make the best things out of it. So you have to put your gut in a parasympathetic mode. Like sympathetic mode is like fight and flight, versus parasympathetic mode is rest and digest. So if you do mindful eating, like being in the presence, like Roger knows this, right? Like you pray before you eat. There is a scientific reason for it, right? It gets you into the right mode. You're paying attention. You're being grateful to what you're eating. And you think about people who made that food, like you feel the food moving in your mouth and not looking at a phone. Like most people I've seen, like they are eating the food, they're staring at their phone, or they are looking at a TV screen, right? So that's not how we're designed to eat. And then comes what we eat, right? So I think all the fight about this diet is great versus that diet is great, I think it's meaningless. It's a very small portion of what we are eating. I think if we take care of the above part, this debate usually goes away. Like I personally feel that whole food, plant-based diet is the best. But does it mean that you can't eat meat? No, you can eat meat. You can eat whatever you want to eat. But you fill up your plate with what you should eat, and then you don't. If you have space, then you can add what you want to eat. Right? Like for example, I get really great urge that I wanna have that ice cream, right? And so what I should do? I should eat one or two apples, and after eating those two apples, if I still have urge to eat the ice cream, I'll eat some ice cream. That's okay. So I need to eat what I should eat first, and then I eat what I want to eat. And that usually helps most people. How to measure it. So in our program, I tell people to have this freestyle libre and tracking what you eat, right? And I'm not asking people to do count calories or measure your macros or anything like that. Just simple, take a picture of your food. Every time you eat, you take a picture of your food and you log it, you can actually see what goes in your mouth. Because what happens most of the time, what we think what we are eating is actually very different than what we are actually eating. So just tracking that way is good. I don't like people weighing themselves. Weighing yourself is not a good idea because it's a wrong measure. Like if you weigh yourself, it's a total of your fat mass, muscle mass, bone mass, water mass, and you doing all the right things. You're eating healthy, you're exercising, now you gain a little bit more muscle, you lost a little fat, but your number stayed steady. And then you feel deflated that, dang, I'm doing all these right things and my weight is not changing. Because weight is the wrong measure. Weight is not a good measure to track. Body composition scale may be a little bit better, but I tell people weight loss should be a byproduct. I'm going to do all these things because those are the right things to do. That's my goal. And if the weight loss happens, or if I become healthier, that's good, right? It's not the goal. I'll just say one thing about how to recognize ultra-processed food. Most people, when we eat, people are looking at here. It's like, what's the fat content or carb content? Then you'll be looking down here. Like, what is the food actually made out of? So if you're looking at food packaging, and if you cannot pronounce something, and it sounds chemically, or it has more than 4 or 5 ingredients, you shouldn't be eating it. My grandmother has had so many wise sayings, I'll say few of them. She used to say, eat your food like medicine. Eat your food like medicine, or you will be eating medicine like food. Right? She also used to say, if you put the food up on the shelf, and if it doesn't go bad for more than 3-4 days, you shouldn't be eating it. I said, Grandma, that doesn't make any sense. And she'll say, if bugs are not willing to eat it, see, it's amazing, right? Chocolate, right? So devil is in details, right? Like whenever you read a news article, always dig deeper. Don't go by headline. Most people come and argue with me because they've read a headline. They come and say, hey doc, I read chocolate is good for you. So whenever somebody says something, X thing is good for you, your immediate question should be, compared to what, right? That's how I came up with, like, 1 glass of wine is good for you, compared to what? Yeah, compared to drinking 4 or 5, or yeah, that is definitely one is good for you. We'll go down to alcohol later, but for chocolate, yeah, the darker is better. Our house usually has 100% chocolate, but I personally like to eat just cocoa powder mixed in my yogurt, because then I'm getting all the good things without having to eat the highly saturated fat. And if you're going below probably 85 or 72, you are eating essentially sugar, right? Like, it's tons of sugar and cream and stuff like that. I have had some people come and tell me that, doc, I love coffee in the morning. I have to have coffee in the morning. But if I look at their coffee, it's usually sugar syrup with coffee flavor in it. So they are not addicted to coffee, they are addicted to that morning jolt of sugar. So just be careful about what you're drinking. Yeah. But I'll tell you this, a few things about supplements, because that's what I get asked about all the time. That, doc, what supplement I should be taking, right? Yeah.
Oops.
So,
Lost it again.
so we may have to just go with, yeah, we'll just leave it like this. I hope everybody can read. If you can read, that's okay. Just look at me. And if you get too bored, it's okay to sleep, right? I saw 1 or 2 people, but that's okay. I'll not follow that just yet. I want them to really start snoring, So supplements. Everybody takes supplements. The problem with supplements that we have this reductionist view that I can put the power of Mother Nature in a pill, right? I'll give you a football example. If you look at the football team, and if you think the quarterback is the most important player in the team, and you take the quarterback out, and you put a team of all quarterbacks, is that going to be a good team? No, that's going to be a terrible team. The same way, if you take a curcumin out of turmeric, or if you take vitamin A out of carrot, and put it in a pill from thousands of carrots worth of vitamin A in one pill, and take that pill, you think your body will benefit from it? No, body did not design to get vitamin A from the carrot that way. Body was designed to eat carrot and figured out what I need and extract that out of carrot. Now the problem with taking a mega doses of one thing, that your body can get confused and may not be able to absorb other things that uses the same channel. So in general, there is statistically proven that people who take too many supplements, they usually are sicker and they have more side effects. And you think that supplements are harmless, right? Most time people say, oh, supplements, how can it be harmful? So something that has effect, which is beneficial, it has to have effect that is harmful, right? So something cannot be potent enough to help you, but not hurt you, right? It cannot be the same in everybody. And another problem is that it's not a regulated industry, so they can make any claim they want to. I have personally sent letters to a natural supplement company saying that this supplement had this side effect. Never got published. In 2022, FDA sent a letter to Prevention saying that you cannot keep making this claim and you don't have studies to prove it. They still keep making claims, and tons of people still take Prevention and Nerivio and tons of other supplements. And people who make those claims, they have financial interest in it, right? They make money off of it. So why won't they tell you that it is good for you? And most of the time, like people like me on YouTube, they are telling you something. If they're selling something simultaneously, be careful, right? If somebody's selling you something and they're giving you a talk on the same topic, they cannot be biasless. So I will move on to exercise. Now, who has not heard exercise is good for you? Okay, how many of you do exercise 5 days a week? Very good. 4 days a week? 1 day a week? Very good. So almost everybody at least exercise 1 day a week, so that's good. So in my class, because in my class I feel like the fun is important, right? So some of you have participated in our program. Who remembers the story of C squared? Dr. Chrisman, you want to tell them story of C squared?
Sure, I'll tell the story of sea squirts. They move as youngsters, and they don't move as an adult.
Yeah, you're exactly right. So sea squirts are a very primitive organism. They are like a tubular water feeder. So just water goes through them, and they absorb nutrients out of it. When they are born, they have a primitive brain, and they have a primitive tail, which has muscles. So they swim in the ocean floor, and they will sit down on a rock where they find a higher concentration of food. And guess what it does? The first thing it does is dissolves its brain. And the second thing it does, it dissolves its own tail. And you're thinking, why the heck some organism will dissolve its own brain? Sole purpose of that brain was to move. Now, once you are not moving, you are not needed. And brain or nervous tissue is highly metabolically active organ. Like the brain is only 2 to 3% of our body weight, but it eats up 25% of the energy that you eat. Can you imagine how terrible that is? Like this teeny tiny organ is eating up 1/4 of the energy that you eat. So we are designed to be in a nutrition poor environment, right? Like humans evolved to be in a nutrition poor environment where you have no food. So you get rid of the things that are costing you a lot and you are not using it. So that can be the brain or that can be the muscle. So let's learn something new today. For some it may not be new, but what I would like you to do is to take two fists, put it in front of your face. With your left hand, make your thumb go out. I'm doing mirrors, so that your left hand, your thumb go out, and the right hand, then your pinky go out. Yeah. So it's in the same direction. I will turn it around, so not create confusion. And young people can do that. That's okay. You're not too cool to do it. That's okay. So take your fist, other fist, your thumb out, and then pick your finger out, and put it in, and your thumb out, and then pick your finger out. Got it?
Yeah.
Let's reverse it. Now thumb and pinky, and then again thumb and pinky. Now practice that. See, it looks really easy, but it's kind of hard thing to do. Yeah, it requires, and once you practice it, you get good at it. Then you can do it anytime, right? So doing the neuroplasticity challenges Doesn't mean that you need any fancy equipment. You can just do it just with your 2 hands. And I have like 45 different things that we talk about in our neuroplasticity session that we had just a couple of Fridays ago, where we talked about reading. I don't think I have I took out the reading slides. But anybody remembers? Anita, do you remember what I talked about in reading? Like how can you stimulate your mind for reading?
Reading out loud.
Reading out loud, that's good. Anything else?
Putting a mirror
Reading upside down.
Yeah. Do you want to tell everybody?
Okay, reading upside down, that can stimulate your brain. Also reading from a mirror, like you put the book next to a mirror and then read the mirror image. That can stimulate your mind as well.
That's right, yeah. So simple things. If you are reading anyway, right? Why not to read out loud? Or read something different. Like if you're used to reading fiction, read non-fiction and vice versa. It's different is good because our brain is built for complexity and it is sustained by complexity. So if you just keep doing crossword puzzles over and over and over again, that's not good enough stimulation. Like if you're doing something with purpose, right, that gives you enjoyment, that adds value to humanity, I think it has a lot more value. This is a kind of busy slide, but I really wanted to talk about stress. I know a lot of people that they eat healthy, they exercise, and they still have terrible health because they are stressed to death all the time. They not only stress about themselves, they stress about other people, they stress about the things that don't matter, and they know that, and they still stress about it. So what can you do about it, right? So each word, I can give 30-minute talk, but I'll try to condense. Unplugging. Number one thing is reducing our screen time. The less screen time you have, the happier you will be in long run. So if you don't have to have social media, you don't need social media, right? And most common argument I hear that, Doc, I want to keep in touch with my friends and family and stuff like that. We kept in touch with our friends and family before we had social media, right? We actually are in better touch with our friends and family before social media. Now Samantha is saying no. Yeah, I know that you need it for your business. I know that, but most of the time, whatever value you get out of social media, you just think, how can I preserve that value so I can just call my cousins once a month or FaceTime with their children. I'll be in a lot better connection with them than I just keep hitting like on their pictures. You know, most people don't care, right? So there are better ways to build connections than social media. And another thing is news. Like news is toxic. Like so many people come and tell me that, Doc, I watch TV all day long because I need to keep up with news. There was a time before 24-hour news cycle, right? We don't need to know every single thing that happens half the earth away. Like, how does it change my day-to-day? It doesn't change my day-to-day at all. I actually tell people, if you watch too much news, you are actually less informed about the world over you read books. And when I say that to my son, he looked at me and says, Dad, are you gone cuckoo? That doesn't make any sense. Because usually news is sensational. News is half-baked because they want to bring the story to you as fast as possible. So as soon as something happens, the reporter hasn't had time to think through it. So they have to add their information in it. So news is biased. It's based on whatever the lens they are wearing. So news is biased. It is half truth or not purely baked truth. And it's sensational. It's there to rev up your emotions. And it's repetitious, right? Versus by the time it takes 2 to 3 days for the story to bake really well, we have already moved on to the next sensational news. So you are actually less informed or ill-informed if you are continuously watching news. So I say that if you really want to learn about a topic, read a book about it, or read a good summary article, editorial from somebody you trust. You will have a lot better idea of what's going on rather than just keep watching news. It's like a saber-toothed tiger. I shouldn't keep going on this, but it's like a saber-toothed tiger, right? Humans, even though we are living in this modern world, we still have the same genome and same biology as if we are cave people. Imagine you're trying to fall asleep in a cave and you hear a saber-toothed tiger growling. Like you are ready to fight or flight. You are not ready to sleep. Fortunately, we don't have saber-toothed tigers anymore, but we still have news going. News makes your subconscious mind feel like it's time to fight. And then you say that, my numbers don't look good. I don't have enough deep sleep, doc. Like obviously you're not gonna have good deep sleep because your mind was ready to fight or flight and not ready to rest and digest. Letting it go. It's very hard to do. When we forgive others, the person we help the most is ourselves. I know it's so hard to do, right? You know somebody did wrong to you, but that's okay, just letting it go. It doesn't mean that putting up with abuse, right? Like I have to be careful when I'm talking in public, but 99% of the things is the event has already happened. And many times, the root cause of dissatisfaction is unrealistic expectation. Let me repeat. Root cause of dissatisfaction is unrealistic expectation. We expect people to do certain things, or we expect some stuff to work out in a way we want to work out. And if it doesn't work out, we are upset about it. So we just need to sometimes tamp down our expectation, and that can be very helpful. Having a purpose-driven life is so important. Like anything you are doing, if you are doing it as a chore, it's painful. Like your mom told you, for kids, your mom told you to clean up in the kitchen, that feels painful. But if you are doing it in your faith community, you're still cleaning the same kitchen. But if you're doing it in your faith community, it feels so great that you did something good. So having a purpose-driven life is very important. Volunteering, altruism. Volunteering brings us joy. Like we have to do something in our life that doesn't make us money, and we are not expecting anything from anybody. When we do that, it makes us so happy inside. So just telling somebody don't stress does not work because they have already heard that, right? Or telling somebody that I'm worrying about things that worrying about it doesn't make a difference. So I tell this to my patients all the time. Why are you worried about that, right? You worrying about it, if it's gonna make a change, you should worry about it. But if you worrying about it, that's not gonna change that person or situation, why the heck are you worrying? It's very easy to say, very hard to do. Just like children, when you have young children and they get into cabinets, what do? If you tell them not to get into cabinets, game over. That's the first thing they're gonna do. So what do? When you have a lot of children, they are getting the cabinet, you tell them, look at this toy train. Let's play with the toy train. Now they are busy with the toy train. You give them pots and pans to bang on it. They are banging pots and pans, so they are not getting into the cabinet. So same thing in our mind. You cannot tell the mind not to stress. You have to give it a work to do so it doesn't stress. I would like to talk about social connections. Unfortunately, in our society with a strong sense of independence, we have lost our social connections. Like everybody wants to be home by themselves, independent, which is good and bad because it creates social isolation. I'm happy that Samantha and her company in Pala bring people in so you have one-on-one connection. But if you are in a CCRC, like continuous care retirement community, where you are playing games, playing bingo, and interacting with others, that's even better. But less than 2 to 3% of people can actually afford to be into those kind of fancy places. Not everybody can afford to be there. So we, as a society, we needed different models where we interact with each other. And I have some other stuff about social connections and stuff. And even my pictures don't show up. That's amazing. So, finding out our why. So far I talked about 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine. So I talked about nutrition, exercise, sleep, mental health, neuroplasticity, and social connections. And the first I talked about risk factors for Alzheimer's disease. But most common thing I hear that, oh, I have no time, right? Or I don't know how to do it. So I tell people, if you have big enough why, you'll figure out how. If you have big enough why, you'll figure out how. So give me some whys, like why do you want to prevent Alzheimer's disease? Like anybody wants to say, like why would you like to prevent Alzheimer's disease?
Preserve that independence.
Preserve the independence, yeah, very important. So the reason I started this, right? Initially I had a lower goal that my grandparents had dementia, my parents started showing some signs of memory problems, and it really scared me. I said, oh my God, my mom and dad are the smartest people and most humble people I know. If it can happen to them, it can happen to me. So I'm going to do everything possible for myself and for them to make sure that it doesn't get bad. So fortunately, I had an unfair advantage of being in neuroscience for 25 years before I started doing this. But then I learned how you actually transfer knowledge into action, right? And that's why I run the whole program, teaching people how do you convert that information, that what I want to eat or how I want to exercise, to actually in action. And big part of it is why, finding out your why. Dr. Dean Ornish says, fear of death or disability is not sustainable, but the joy of living is, right? Because I want to do all these good things, not because I don't want to get dementia. I want to do all these things because I want to spend time with my children and grandchildren, and I'm going to be running with my teenager, and I want him to be surprised that, hey, my dad can run that much. So when I started running on this Guilford McIntosh Marina Trail, I'll be like running half mile, and then I tell him, buddy, you run, and I'll try to stay with you, but you can go. Now he's 16, so I feel comfortable with him running by himself. But now I can keep up with him. Not the whole time, not at his speed, but one day I will. So what do we do that you can see really well? This is exactly what technology, I love it. So what I did, I wanted to learn more stuff, right? So I customized an app so people get everyday notification. Because just hearing something one time every 6 months does not change behavior. But every morning you get a notification that, oh, learn about this today, or watch this video. It's a 5-minute video. Or do this action today. Like today, your action item is go give a hug to your loved one. Like we are a touch-deprived society. When was the last time somebody came and gave you a good hug, right? It's been getting less and less and less. Like the younger you are, you're much more likely to get. The older you are, it gets harder and harder. And once you lose your spouse, too bad, right? And we are a touch-deprived society. So one of the action items you get on your app, go give somebody a good hug today, right? And those things I feel like has a value that makes a long-term change. You can log different things and stuff like that. One thing was videos. Yeah, sure. Thank you. Fatima, poor girl, she came to work with me as my student. She's a PA, and she had to listen to me talk to patient all day long. It's a bad job.
Slide this, we can slide this.
Yeah, try doing
But I don't know
that.
how to do it. It's different.
Yeah, it's not a Microsoft. This is the Google Slides. One of the young people may know it. So, give it a try. Let's see. So most of the time, people go into this YouTube rabbit hole. Like we say, oh, I'm not on social media. I just watch YouTube. But if you watch YouTube and if it does not translate into action, then it's just binge watching or watching Netflix. You are not learning anything new. So that's why we have the videos. There are 5 to 10 minutes video, and you can't keep watching them. It's just one time you watch, and the goal is for you to think about it and try to implement it, rather than. Thank you. What did you change? So it's like a computer, right? Like if it doesn't work, you unplug it and plug it back in. My wife is looking for that remote that she can unplug and plug it back in. She needs a reboot. I can't even imagine. She has to hear me all day long. And sometimes she tells me that you are not in a presenter mode, you are a husband. So, and I already heard this 5 times. But that's all I have. I always like to keep some time to questions and answers. But these are the 6 pillars that I want to talk about. The take-home message is Alzheimer's can happen to any one of us. Genes are not our destiny. I think Sharon, right? Sharon asked me before we started that if I have it in my family, does it mean that we're gonna get it? Like, is there a genes? So genes increases your risk, but it's not your destiny. So one way to put it, that genes load the gun, lifestyle pulls the trigger, right? Even if you're highly motivated, being a part of some kind of wellness program increases your ability to implement it. There are some highly motivated people that can do by themselves, but most mortals like us, and it doesn't have to be my program, it can be any program. So I do this at the end where I ask people to stand up. So if you can stand up, please stand up. Just don't fall. And if you fall, make sure the person next to you is strong enough to catch you. So what we're going to do, I'm going to say one word at a time that I have underlined, and you will repeat after me. And then at the end, we'll say the whole thing together. Lifestyle is my weapon, and I will beat Alzheimer's disease. Now actually say it as you mean it. Like, other people needs to know that we are doing this. So we'll do this one more time. Lifestyle is my weapon, and I will beat Alzheimer's disease. Thank you. So official time is over, but I'm happy to take questions. But if you need to take off, you're welcome to take off.